put stories like this on the front page? The idea of a newspaper is to give you the latest news, like the top of the stories. Why do you think these stories, they put it on the front page? What is the purpose of putting in front page a natural disaster that had happened around the world? What is the purpose? To sell more? Para vender más? No? What is the front page? What is the front page of a newspaper? ¿Qué creen que es la front page of the newspaper?
La portada.
La portada. Ajá. So, ¿ponen en la portada las peores o las noticias más recientes? ¿Por qué creen que lo hacen? To sell more?
So far, yes.
Okay. Para vender más. Okay. Yes, probably yes. Not all disasters are caused by nature. What are some other kinds of disasters? What are some of their causes? ¿Creen ustedes que todos los desastres son causados por la naturaleza o por los humanos? Nosotros.
For the human teacher.
Okay, probably for a human. Okay, very good. Now let's move to the other thing. Okay. At the beginning, I show you this page. Okay, this one. Okay. Now, according to this one, the epidemic, the blizzard, and the famine, which one of these do you consider is the worst? If you put it in a scale from 1 to the third one, which one do you consider is the worst? An epidemic, a blizzard, or famine? No? Or do you think all of them are the same? Probably all of them are really natural disasters. Okay, now look at this one. We're going to read this one that it has in the book, okay? And I want you that you pay attention to these words. Flood, casualties, death toll, okay? Property damage, and in breaking news, okay? I want you that you pay attention to this one, okay? The book is presenting you this one, okay? They're talking about a natural disaster that probably happened, and you tell me where it happening, okay? This one. Let's listen.
Read and listen to a conversation about a natural disaster.
Oh my goodness, take a look at this.
Why? What's going on?
There's this enormous flood in Slovakia. Look at these people on the roof. The water's up to the second floor. And look at these cars. I sure hope there was no one in them.
That sounds horrendous. Any word on casualties?
It says no reports of deaths or injuries so far, but it's in the middle of a city, for goodness sake. The death toll could end up being huge.
And can you imagine the property damage?
Well, they estimate almost 50% of the houses in town are underwater already.
What a disaster.
I wonder how this flood compares to the one they had in New Orleans a few years back. Remember that?
You bet I do. How could anyone forget? And that flooded almost half the city, too.
Let's turn on CNN. They usually have breaking news about stuff like this.
Okay. What is the type of natural disaster they're talking about? Look at the first picture here, because it's divided like in 3 stages. Look at the cars. I don't know if you can notice that one. Okay? And this one. This. Do you think that they are at the office? They are at their houses? They are friends? They are husband and wife? What do you think? What is the type of relationship they have? Are they at the office or they are at home? No? Okay. What is a natural disaster? Home. Okay. Probably they are husband and wife. Probably. Not brother and sister. I don't know. Okay. But they're probably at home. Some of them, one was probably watching the TV. The other one was checking the news on the internet using the laptop. And next to the laptop, there is a newspaper. Okay. So they really like to be informed about what's happening in the world. And now they are mentioning 2 places. Where do you think they are? They mentioned 2 cities. There is a flood. The first part of this one, it says, there is a flood. Flood. This one. There is an enormous flood. ¿Qué creen que es un flood? According to the picture. Inundación. Uh-huh. And where is the flood? In New Orleans or Slovakia? Have you noticed that in United States, because of the weather and because they have different states, and in each state they have different environment, they have different type of weather, so they could have tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, they have blizzards, they have all the weather condition that probably and natural disasters that probably you can mention, they have it. Probably they don't have volcanic eruptions because probably they don't have too many volcanoes, but that is the only thing that probably doesn't happen in the United States. But apart from part of those, everything happened there. Okay, so there's an enormous flood. Look at the people. Probably the people are on the roof. Probably if there is a flood, where you can go, you go to the top of your house. Okay, the waters up to the 2nd floor. And look at these cars. It says, I'm sure, I hope there was no one in them. That sounds horrendous. Any word on casualties? It says no reports of death or injuries so far, but it is in the middle of the city, for God's sake, it says. The death toll could end up being huge. Can you imagine the damaged property? When there is a flood, we had a lot of floods in Guatemala. En Guatemala, what are some of the worst floods? ¿En qué departamentos afecta más cuando hay inundaciones aquí en Guatemala?
La costa sur y el oriente.
Ajá. ¿Y por qué creen que ahí? Escuintla, el puerto, Izabal, ¿por qué creen?
Por la abundancia de cantidad de recurso hídrico con la que cuentan estas regiones, entonces,
Ríos.
pues sí, la tierra ya está como húmeda en su totalidad, entonces es donde se desbordan por el exceso de agua.
Uh-huh. So it says, so there are a lot of people that every single year in Guatemala, they've been affected to this flood. Every single year, there are some people, and you say probably why they don't move from one place to another. At the beginning of the video, when I show you the video about the natural disaster that are exhibited in a museum in United States, they were seeing that why there is a lot of people that still have the same problem year by year. Why? Because you don't choose where to live. If you don't have enough money, you go and live in a place probably that is dangerous for you and for your family, but you don't have enough money to live in another place. And that's why there are a lot of people that every single year it happens the same thing, because probably they don't have the money to move from one place to another, or because they have all their crops there, todas sus siembras and all the places, they have it there. Okay, when you move from one place to another, it's because probably you have the chance and you have the money. But when you don't have the money, there are a lot of people that lives near a volcano, near a river, near a cliff, near a volcano. But what is that? Because you don't have the conditions to move to another place. And that's why it says most of the people live there, because they don't have the chances to move to another place. And most of these people are affected every single year because of the natural disasters. And it says, and can you imagine the damage, the property damage? When you have a flood, probably these cars, they won't, probably you won't save these cars. You will have to buy another car. Probably if you lose your house, you lose your cars, you lose everything that you have built. You spend like 5 years trying to get your car. In a day you lose your car. In a day you lose your house. Okay, that would be difficult. Well, they estimate almost 50 of the houses in town are underwater already. Okay, so they are already completed. What a disaster, it says. I wonder how this flood compares to the one they had on New Orleans. So they were comparing both the flood from Slovakia and the flood from New Orleans that happened a few years back. You bet I do. How could anyone forget that? And the flooded almost half of the city too. And they were mentioning on news, CNN. That is, what is CNN? They usually have breaking news about the stuff like this. What is a CNN? Why most of the people like CNN news? Why so famous? Because we have CNN in English and they have CNN in Spanish from Latin American. Why do you think it's so famous? Because they have presence in all over the world. They have a lot of news reporters. They have a lot of reporters in every single city around the world. That's what they make so famous. And because of most of the time, because they don't give like they give realistic fact about the things. Okay, so we were talking about a flood, we were talking about casualties. What happened when there is a natural disasters? There are a lot of people that probably die there. In a minute we return. Okay, that there's a lot of people that probably they they can recover from this. Okay, so I mentioned these 5 things: flood, casualties, death toll, proper damage, and breaking news. Okay, so we're going to see it in the next one. Remember that all this talks a little bit about vocabulary. Okay, everything is about vocabulary. Okay, and this is an exercise that we have. Okay, now we already understand the story, the conversation. 2 words that mean very big are 2 words that meaning the same, that something is big. According to the reading and according to the exercise, in the conversation, they are using some adjectives or words that describe the natural disaster. Okay, remember that I told you that in these courses, you're going to see a lot of vocabulary. When you know a lot of the words, when you know a lot of words, it's easy for you to talk because you have a lot of vocabulary. And that is the idea of these courses, that you have a lot of words in order to express yourself. So let's go for this one. Now, according to all this one, we have a lot of words. Which of these words do you consider they have the same meaning of big? 2 words that mean very big are, how do they describe the flood? ¿Qué dicen del flood? Cuando ellos se refieren al flood, ¿qué dicen? They mention a type of flood. They gave an adjective.
There is enormous flow.
So the first word is enormous. Enormous is a synonym or very big. So the flood was enormous. ¿Qué otra palabra hay aquí? Aquí, tenemos otra en esta. Second part. Rachel. En el párrafo de Rachel tienen otro adjetivo que significa igual, like enormous. So we have the first one, that is enormous. And aquí, ¿cuál creen que es Enormous means very big.
Huge.
Huge. Very good. So those are synonyms. Two words that mean very big are enormous and huge. Vamos con la otra. The number of indicates the number of people who are injured or killed in an event.
Casualties.
Casualties? Yes. Very good. A two-word phrase that means the destruction of harm of buildings, cars, or other things that belong to the victim. And obviously they were part of the event. A two-word phrase.
Disaster.
No.
It's two words. Tiene dos palabras.
Death toll.
Maybe when Tom say, and can you imagine it, property damage?
Very good. Property damage. Very good. Okay. Damage means to harm something. In property, obviously, the one that you have. What is my property? My property are my house or my houses, my cars, TVs. All those are property damage that probably they are involved in the natural disasters and probably you lose them. Okay. A two-word expression that is used to describe the first news reports of an important event that is happening at the present is. ¿Cómo se les conoce a esas noticias? Cuando son los titulares en español. Que aparece mucho en Estados Unidos. O es noticias de última hora. En English, ¿cuáles son esas?
Breaking news.
Yes, very good. They are the breaking news. Okay? Those are the words that we have here. Okay? Okay, let me show you this one. Okay, two words that describe and what is the meaning. A death toll. Recuerdan que en la conversación también aparecía death toll. Death toll is the total number of people who died in an accident, in a disaster, or a war. ¿Qué creen que es death toll? Cuando ya tienen el número total de personas que murieron a causa del desastre, de un accidente, de una guerra, de un, no sé. ¿Qué creen que es death toll?
Teacher, death toll puede ser el número de personas que murieron del COVID-19 en Guatemala.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Damage means when you physical harm to something. Injury, physical harm to a person. Damage is when you suffer, not necessarily you, something that is a thing, an object. Your house suffers a lot of damage. But when you, a person, suffers, you cannot say, I am damaged. You will say, I had an injury. Because injury is for a person, and damage is for an object. Your car, your house, your, I don't know, your TV, your bicycle, whatever that it suffers during the flood. A word of mouth. Sometimes ¿cómo se entera usted de de alguna noticia? Si no se entera por el periódico, ¿por qué más se puede enterar? ¿Qué otras formas hay de enterarse?
On YouTube,
Ajá, en social media,
social.
newspapers, what else? Pero hay otra forma que es muy común para todos.
En Facebook.
Facebook, yes. Pero miren lo que la hasta abajo dice word or mouth. Hear from someone known personally, an unofficial source. Word or mouth, ¿qué creen que es word or mouth? ¿Qué otra forma hay de enterarse de las cosas sin que usted las mire en Facebook, sin que usted las mire en las noticias, sin que usted las escuche en el radio? ¿Por qué otra forma usted se entera de algunas cosas? Ya sean buenas o malas. Yes, by the people, de boca en boca. Eso es word of mouth. Sometimes you don't know the news. Sometimes you are in your house and sometimes you go to buy to buy something at the store y alguien le cuenta algo. Word of mouth, ¿ok? Have you heard about the news? ¿Ya escuchó la noticia de esto y esto y esto? ¿Ya se enteró de esto y esto y esto? Esto es word of mouth. When you listen from another person that is not an official source that something happened. It could be a disaster. It could be a news. It could be gossip. Gossip pueden ser los chismes. So those are not official sources. Okay? That's what we're having. Okay? Now let's stop here. Let's go to the conversation again. And let's try to listen. Okay? Listen to the pronunciation. And then I ask you to volunteer and practice the conversation.
Read and listen to a conversation about a natural disaster.
Oh my goodness, take a look at this.
Why? What's going on?
There's this enormous flood in Slovakia. Look at these people on the roof. The water's up to the second floor. And look at these cars. I sure hope there was no one in them.
That sounds horrendous. Any word on casualties?
It says no reports of deaths or injuries so far, but it's in the middle of a city, for goodness sake. The death toll could end up being huge.
And can you imagine the property damage?
Well, they estimate almost 50% of the houses in town are underwater already.
What a disaster.
I wonder how this flood compares to the one they had in New Orleans a few years back. Remember that?
You bet I do. How could anyone forget? And that flooded almost half the city, too.
Let's turn on CNN. They usually have breaking news about stuff like this.
Okay, who wants to participate? 2 volunteers for the conversation? I know it is being a while since you don't practice your English. The idea is you don't forget your English and try to practice. Okay? Okay, Julio and the girl. What was the name of the girl? I couldn't get the name. Marilyn. Okay. Marilyn, you start.
Oh my goodness, take a look at this.
Why? What's going on?
There's this enormous flood in Slovakia. Look at these people on the roof. The water's up to the second floor. And look at these cars. I sure hope there was no one in them.
That sounds horrendous. Any word on casualties?
It says no reports of deaths or injuries so far, but it's in the middle of the city, for goodness sake. The death toll could end up being high.
And can you imagine the property damage?
Well, they estimate almost 50% of the houses in town are underwater already.
What a disaster!
I wonder how this flood compares to the one they had in New Orleans a few years back. Remember that?
You bet I do. How could anyone forget? And that flooded almost half the city too.
Let's turn our CNN. They usually have breaking news about stuff like this.
Okay, very good. Very
You.
good, guys. Thank you,
Thank
Julio.
you.
Okay, now let's go for the last part. That is very interesting. Okay, so you're going to learn a lot of vocabulary here. And it says, check your news sources and write advantages and disadvantages of each one. I just want you that you tell me what you think about this. Now, when you find out the news, it says newspaper, you can save the article. So if you like to collect articles, it's because you have the newspaper in your hand. You read the newspaper, you can, I don't know, but some of the people like to collect, guardan, ¿ok? El periódico. No sé si conocen alguna persona que hace eso, que guardan el periódico, ¿sí o no?
Yes.
Yes, lo leen y lo guardan. No sé, lo vuelven porque les gusta coleccionarlo, les gusta cierto artículo, lo recortan y lo mantienen ahí, o no sé, but they save the article. Okay, una de las ventajas es eso. You can save the article or you can save the newspaper. And a disadvantages could be not as updated as the online news. ¿Qué diferencia habrá entre tener una noticia en el periódico y ver la misma noticia en línea? ¿Qué creen que hay alguna diferencia en contenido? When you have a newspaper, it's because there is someone that writes the article that tells the story that happened. And they check the story, they check the facts, they have to prove that everything that they are saying is true most of the time. And then they go to the printing, and then you have the newspaper. But what happened with the online news? Online news means that they are updated, they are fresh. You can see the videos, you can have some audios, you have news that are more updated than newspapers. That's what it says, one of the disadvantages. Probably I like to read a newspaper, but probably the news that probably I will read, they're already past. Or the article that I am reading, it has suffered changes because the news have changed. Okay? So, what are the things of the internet and news sites? Do you think that the internet has certain advantages or disadvantages according to the news? Who has more? Which one of the newspaper of internet news? Which one of them has more certainty or being truth? ¿Cuál creen que de los dos tienen más certeza de ser en realidad de certeza de la noticia? ¿El periódico o las noticias en el internet? ¿Cuál de las dos tiene un mayor grado de certeza?
Newspaper, I think.
Okay, probably yes. Okay, internet, you don't know what is fake and what is true. Okay, when you want to talk or when you want to know about something, in this case, it's a natural disasters, what do you prefer, TV or radio?
On TV for me.
TV.
Okay, TV. What happened that there is a lot of places in Guatemala where you don't have access to a TV? You only have the radio. So everything that they listen is a radio. And they find out about the things by radio. Okay? What about a weekly news magazines? Do you like to read magazines? Do you think that a weekly news magazine is updated as the newspaper or as the internet? Probably no, because it's a weekly. So you read in a week, you have one article. The next week, you will have the second part of that article. In a week could happen a lot of things. Probably a weekly news magazine. Probably you're reading a type of news that are a little late, behind, okay? And a word of mouth. ¿Qué prefieren? Newspaper, internet, radio, TV, or word of mouth? Si usted quiere certeza de que algo sí está pasando y quiere saber en realidad si es cierto o no, o es fake, ¿a cuál de todos estos fuentes iría?
Newspaper.
Okay, Oscar said the newspaper. Another one? En Guatemala, ¿cómo creen que nos enteramos de las cosas? ¿Cuál es la que más utiliza?
Internet.
Internet. Ok. Si usted se quiere saber algún chisme de la colonia, ¿cómo lo hace?
A word of mouth.
Yes, a word of mouth. Everybody knows how to discover one thing or how to talk to someone, okay? Everybody knows who is the person that talks more in your neighborhood, in your family, in your house, I don't know. There is always a person that talks a little bit more about these things, okay? So let's stop here, okay? Vamos a terminar el día de hoy, okay? Como les indico, el día de mañana vamos a ver un poquito de cómo nos matriculamos a la plataforma de My English Lab. Por si ustedes no se recuerdan, nos matriculamos, habilitamos de una vez las 3 unidades por trabajar, ¿ok? Y no me han dado todavía, no me han colocado mis cursos en la plataforma de Moodle, ¿ok? Entonces todavía no puedo dar todavía acceso a la plataforma de Moodle. Eso todavía no lo... Es importante que lo tengan, pero no es algo tan importante ahorita. Vamos a seguir trabajando con la plataforma de My English Lab, ¿ok? ¿Alguna duda? ¿No? ¿Vamos bien? ¿Sí? Yo creo que tal vez el día de mañana ya tenemos más compañeros suyos. Tal vez hoy se tomaron todavía el día de hoy. ¿Ok? ¿No hay dudas?
No, teacher.
¿No?
No
Ok.
yet.
Ok. Thank you, guys. Fue un gusto verlos otra vez. Los miro el día de mañana y mañana continuamos obviamente con el contenido y con la matriculación de la plataforma y cuando se cierran los ejercicios. ¿Ok? Thank you, guys.
Okay, teacher. Bye.
Bye, bye. Have a nice
Bye,
day.
miss. Bye,
Thank
miss.
you.
Bye, miss.
Bye,
Bye,
teacher.
guys. Bye, guys. Take care. Bye, Andrew.